have no idea what I was thinking putting on this top. I thought because it's a light top and it's thin that I wouldn't be very hot, but that is not correct. I am extremely toasty right now. That's okay. And nonetheless, I'm sure you already know what today's video is all about by the title. This is going to be my monthly wrap up for the month of April. And I feel like I say this every time I do one of these videos, but I can't believe that April is already over. This month flew by and it was an amazing reading month. Let me just tell you that. Now, before I kick things off, setup is a little bit different this time because I'm out in my living room, and that is because this has become my new favorite spot to be in. And honestly, what I wanted when we first moved in here was for this space to just feel really lived in and cozy and just someplace that I wanted to spend my time. And it's slowly turning into that. I've got my vinyls up here in the background, well, at least some of my vinyls. And then I've got an amazing view of the bookshelf. And of course, you can't see it very well right now, but we got a brand new couch and I'm so excited for it. It is so comfy. It is so cozy. It's like a cloud modular, like sectional kind of couch. So it is one of those couches that you can move it around, but it's like memory foam. So it feels like you're just on a bed. It's really big. So we had to kind of position it in more of like the bed format, but I love it like this. I really do. And we also got a projector. So now when I want to be out here and watch TV, I don't have to use my iPad or anything. I can just project it onto the wall. So it's great. I love it. So this has been my favorite spot to be in, honestly, for the last couple of weeks. And so I figured let's film out here. It's nice. We got great lighting, although I do have the blinds partially closed because it is really bright and also makes it very hot. Figure before we actually get into it and break down the books that I read, I would just do something a little bit different and maybe give you some like reading stats for the month of April, just so we can kind of see how the overall month was when it comes to reading. So firstly, I've read 7 books this month and I'm happy about that. I know that for some people that may not feel like a lot. There are definitely people out there that read tons and tons and tons of books. But for me, working full time and still trying to fit in my hobby, which is reading, can be a difficult task. And reading 7 books feels really, really good, really productive. There's only 4 weeks in the month. So I was reading more than a book a week, which is great. And I'm happy about it. I read 5 5-star reads this month. Can I just remind you, I had read 7 books. And out of those 7, there were 5 that were 5-star reads. Incredible. I also read 4 new releases this month. Loved it. If you haven't checked out my newest vlog yet, go check it out because that is where I documented reading those new releases, and I had a lot of fun. That was good, and hopefully we can get another video like that coming out here soon enough. But April just felt like it was a month for new releases. And then in terms of genres that I read, it was kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. One of them was a sports romance, which not really, I don't think that's really a genre that I ever pick up, or a trope that I ever look for, but I ended up reading one and I had a great time doing that. I also read 1 dystopian. I had read 2 romances, 1 nonfiction, 1 science fiction, and 1 contemporary romance. So this was a very well-rounded reading month for me and one of my best yet. So let's go ahead and jump right into all the books that I read this month. I'm just gonna go off the list that I have here on my Goodreads. So we'll start off with the first one, which is The Favorites. I actually really enjoyed this book. I did not anticipate enjoying this book, to be honest with you. I've said it before, but to make a long story made short, never had the intention of reading this book. Picked it up for a buddy read pick because I had read the synopsis, and based off of reading what it said in the synopsis, I was instantly, like, my attention was grabbed. I didn't even honestly want to wait until April to go ahead and pick up the book and read it. But I had to because it was my buddy read pick. So I gave this one a 4 stars, and the only reason I think this book wasn't a 5-star read for me is just because I think I got a little bit tired of the repetitiveness that was kind of happening. Without giving too much away, this is the sports romance that I was talking about, and it follows two figure skaters, and one of them is our female main character and one is our male main character. So we've got Katrina and Heath, and they have known each other since they were kids. They grew up together. Heath's got a pretty tough background, so does Katrina, honestly. And we kind of follow them on their journey of just trying to go to the Olympics as figure skaters. And that was such a fun ride, but there was a lot of times where I was just like, oh my God, how many times are we going to go through this before we learn to not, like, my dog is doing something weird right now. But I'm just kind of like, how many times are we going to keep going back and forth? We're almost there and then something happens. We're almost there and then something happens. I don't know. So I kind of get really frustrated when I read books where it's very repetitive and we're kind of going through the same cycle over and over again. But nonetheless, I did enjoy this book. There was also something that happened in this book that kind of threw me off a little bit, but overall, really enjoyed it. If you haven't picked it up yet, I do highly recommend it. And if you're a big fan of Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, then I think you'll definitely love this one because of how it is kind of told. If you've read that book or you've listened to the audio, then you'll know that in Daisy Jones and the Six, it's for the audio, I think it's a full cast. It's broken down in an interview format, and it's kind of the same way with this book. It's kind of told not quite an interview, but you kind of get commentary from other characters and, like, I guess news clips or highlight reels and things like that from reporters. So I thought this was really, really exciting and a fun way to tell the story and kind of go through it. But yeah, that was the first book. Enjoyed it, loved it. Definitely need to go buy this book because I think I will want to reread this again. The next book on my list is my dystopian read for this month, and I'm sure you can probably already guess, but that is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. Need I say more? That was a 5-star read. This is another book in the Hunger Games series. This one, if you don't know, how do you not know if you don't? Anyways, this one is Haymitch's story, and Haymitch is I love Haymitch. I absolutely love him. I think from reading The Hunger Games for the very first time, there was always something with Haymitch that I felt was a little bit sad and made me feel for him. And it's nice now to have his story told. There's a lot of things that get answered, like finding out how he even got into the Hunger Games, finding out about his family, finding out about his drinking. There's a lot of questions that get answered in this book. And also, if you're a big fan of the Hunger Games series, we get a lot of glimpses of other characters that have been throughout the entire series that are in this one as well, which was super exciting for me. And so I don't know, overall really loved it and enjoyed it. I don't know if I said it yet, but this one was a 5-star read. I mean, I kind of already had a feeling that was going to happen, but you just never know, right? This one definitely, just like any other Hunger Games, is super emotional, really graphic, a lot of surprise moments, but not really surprises because you know people are going to die, but like there were definitely some surprise moments for me. I don't know. This book was a lot. But in a good way. Okay, moving on. Next book. This next book that I read was on my list of most anticipated books of the year, and that is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. And wow, I have a lot of thoughts about this book. Ultimately, though, I did end up giving it a 5 stars. Now, a big reason why this book was a 5-star read for me was because of the personal connection that I had with this book. This one follows our FMC Samantha and then our MMC Xavier. And we get a lot of funny moments and lighthearted moments like you normally do in Abby Jimenez writing, which I love, but it's also mixed with a lot of emotional heartache and turmoil with like family and other things that are happening in one's life. And that's one thing that I really love about Abby Jimenez's writing. But for me, that personal element really came, or that personal connection, I should say, really came from Samantha and the things that it was going through in this book with her family. Her mom is like a 50-year-old woman that has been diagnosed with dementia. And that is not an easy thing to deal with. I mean, any kind of illness with a family member or yourself is never easy to deal with. But as someone who has personally gone through this, if you don't know this, my mom was diagnosed with dementia in her 50s. And she has since passed away. But that was a really difficult time. And I'm sure you can imagine. One thing that I think this book really gave me, and that's why I gave it a 5-star, was kind of being able to see it through another lens and feel like, okay, I'm not alone. Like the things that I was feeling when I was going through this with my mom is how our character was feeling as well. It's not an easy thing to fear waking up and thinking that your mom isn't going to know who you are. That's never easy. Sometimes you'll get glimpses of who she is as a person, and then in 2 seconds it's gone. And so that's not an easy thing to deal with. And I think Abby did such a great job at talking about that and taking care of that. Moving past that emotional talk, though, one thing that I didn't necessarily enjoy about the book was the insta-love of it all. It was very much kind of thrown in your face instead of it being like a gradual thing. Right off the bat, they're kind of already obsessed with each other. They go on a date. The date was kind of fun, though. I'm not going to lie. That was fun. But it was very insta-love. So if that's not really a thing for you, you may not necessarily enjoy this book. But overall, I think what really saved this book for me was just the emotional aspect of what Samantha was going through with her family. And when I say that, though, it wasn't easy to read, but it was nice and in a weird way kind of comforting. There is one quote that I want to read for you from this book, and I'll leave it there. If you want to read it, then I would say definitely check it out. But also keep in mind, in the beginning of the book, there are trigger warnings. So for anyone that does not know whether or not this book is for them, I would say just go to the bookstore, pick it up, look at the trigger warnings before you decide to purchase it or whatever it may be, or look up the trigger warnings and go into it just knowing that it is going to be difficult. There is insta-love. And yeah, anyways, the quote is, "I'd like to look back on my life and remember every single thing. But if I don't, I hope I remember it was a love story and that the love story was about you." I don't know. I love it. And now reading that book, the title makes a lot more sense. It has a lot more meaning to it. So, yeah, this was a good book. Not my favorite by Abby, but definitely a good book. All right, so the next book that I read this month, and I should say that all the books that I've talked about so far, including this next one that I'm going to talk about, are all the 4 new releases that I read in my last vlog. So if any of those interest you and you want to see my reactions or commentary about them, that's the place to go and see about that. But this next book I actually got as an ARC originally, and I was really excited for it. If you haven't seen it yet, I made a whole short about it. It's up here so you can see it on my channel. It was a book that I didn't know too much about, but I heard a little bit about it, had seen the cover kind of floating around, And I decided on a whim when I was looking on NetGalley to try to see if I could maybe get the arc for it. And I didn't expect to, but that was the first arc that I got. And I was super excited because I just clicked on it and said, let me just try to get it. But honestly, I'm probably not going to. And then getting a email in my inbox saying that I got it was super exciting. But this book is Passion Project by London Sperry, and I had such a fun time reading this book. It was so good. But first off, can we just appreciate the cover really quick? This cover, guys, is beautiful. I mean, the detail is incredible. Look at the back of the book. I love it. This is an amazing cover. I don't know why, but this gives me like spring summer vibes. It has a lot of energy and lightness to it, and I think that kind of really gives you a sense of the book a little bit. Now, this one was another 5-star read for me, and I had such a good time reading it. I actually got this book as my first book of the month book, which I'm super happy about, and I'm glad that I have the physical copy now. But this one follows our two characters that we see on the front cover. We've got, I should say, these names are absolutely adorable. I don't know how she came up with these names, but I love them. But we've got our FMC, who is Bennett Taylor, and then we've got our MMC, who is Henry Adams. And there's actually a funny quote in the book. I'm gonna butcher it because I don't remember it word for word, but Bennett basically tells Henry that his name sounds like a historical person or like a president or whatever it was that she said, and I kind of laughed at that because I was like, it does sound like that. But long story made short, this one basically follows our FMC, and she is living in New York City. She has moved there pretty much for reasons that I'm not going to name because I don't want to spoil anything from the book. But basically, she moves to New York City and she's working these dead-end jobs, just trying to kind of make ends meet and figure out her life, although she has no idea what she wants, where she wants to be, or what she wants to do. And we kind of meet her in a compromising position in the beginning of the book. She's not in a good place. Not in a good place in the beginning of the book, and she's just not in a good place in her life, honestly. She's really struggling. She deals with anxiety, and also dealing with grief. And so she's actually supposed to be on a date with Henry in the beginning of the book, but something ends up happening and then she ends up running away. And we later meet up again with Henry, and Henry decides that he wants to help her find her passion. And that's why it's called Passion Project. So they end up going on a bunch of fun little outings or friend dates, and they're supposed to be things to help her find her passion. They go to a tattoo place. They do tons of different things in this book, and it was a lot of fun. I think that was probably my favorite part, is just watching them go to these different places to find her passion, and it really brings them close together, and they develop an amazing, I think, friendship and bond with one another. And it also really helps Bennett, even if she doesn't know it yet, kind of start to heal a little bit. We follow that whole journey. It's a lot of fun. It's a good read. I think if I haven't mentioned it already, this is the debut novel for London Sperry, and I'm definitely going to be reading more books by her. One thing I will say is I'm going to make this comparison, and somebody might come for me here. I don't really care. You can come for me. That's fine. I'm going to make the comparison that this author's writing style, at least in this particular book, reminds me a lot of Abby Jimenez. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I think that London Sperry does something similar that Abby does, where she gives us that light, fluffy romance, but then we also get the emotional side of things as well. And she has a really good balance of that. And Henry was just so lovable I enjoyed this. I definitely will say that there are many times, I don't know why, but this is something that happens to me quite often. The female main characters always annoy me because they just do the most annoying things. And instead of communicating, they just run away. Those things always annoy me. And I'm literally sitting there screaming at the book, like, what are you doing? But Henry saves that for me a lot. He's very sweet. Anyways, that was Passion Project by London Sperry. The next book was my nonfiction read, and I had so much fun with this book. I did not anticipate enjoying this book as much as I did, but this was a book that Anthony has been wanting me to read and pick up for a long time, and that is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I did not realize how many people have actually read this book. I'm not a nonfiction reader, so I guess that should not be a surprise. But I would take this book to work, go out with it, and everybody would come up to me and be like, oh my God, I love this book. This book is such a good read. They were not lying. This first off is a very, very short book. It's a teeny tiny book. I think it's like maybe no more than like 140 pages if you count like the acknowledgement area in the back. But this book was so good. It basically kind of breaks things down into like 4 steps is what I'm going to call it. But obviously they're called agreements. And he is kind of just breaking down how to look at life, how to deal with things, and how us as people kind of respond to things based off of like things that people have gone through in the past and just a lot of different things. I'm trying not to give anything away, so I'm really bad at explaining this. But one thing I will say, I took actually a lot of things from this, and I'm definitely going to be reading this book a lot. I do want to go back and read it again and actually annotate it, like highlight different areas and stuff so I have something to reference back to anytime I need it. This is definitely one of those books that you don't need to read everything all at once. You can definitely read it when the mood strikes or when you feel like you need a little pick-me-up or something to kind of keep you going a little bit. But one thing I will say that I found really interesting, and I never thought about it before, he makes this statement of saying how when people kind of like beat themselves up, right? He was kind of talking about how that kind of works for us. You are the only person that is going to be able to hurt yourself the most. That's basically what he says. And he said, if someone can hurt you worse than you hurt yourself, that is when you will get up and leave. If someone hurts you just enough that you're still able to take it, you'll keep coming back. And I thought that was such an interesting statement to make, because that also explains a lot of like why you see people stay in these abusive relationships sometimes, or why you see people kind of keep these friendships around. And it's because they're getting hurt, but they hurt themselves more than anyone else can hurt them. That's not always the case, but I thought that was interesting to kind of take away from it. So that's just one little tiny detail. Anyways, I did end up giving that book a 5 stars as well. I don't know if it's right to rate a nonfiction, but I rated it anyways. So the next book, I'm not going to dive into too much because I do have a video coming out about this book. This was a book Anthony's been wanting me to pick up and read for a while. He got me to read Ready Player One last year, and actually, if it wasn't for 11/22/63, that probably would have been a 5-star read for me. But alas, 11/22/63 happened, and so it wasn't. But I loved Ready Player One. That one was so fun. It was so nostalgic. If you're a big video game fan, I think you definitely love it. Obviously, there's a movie out about Ready Player One, but the book just gives you so much more. So much more. So if you haven't read it, I do recommend it. But this one kind of picks up where we kind of left off at the end of Ready Player One. So we have the whole gang back. We've got Wade. Everyone is back in this one. And we're kind of just seeing what happens after Ready Player One. And this one, I don't know if it was necessarily needed, but I still enjoyed it, and I gave this one a 4 stars. And then the last book that I read this month, this one I don't have physically. A lot of these books I read obviously on my Kindle. I definitely my Kindle era, guys. I don't know what happened. I just really got obsessed with this guy. Like, this is amazing. Who wouldn't want to have a Kindle or some kind of e-reader? Because it's so convenient. You can take it with you anywhere you go. Anyways, long story made short, the last book that I ended up reading this month was Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. This is the third book in the Magnolia Parks series, and I had such a fun time reading this book. This one I gave a 5